Now, Inauguration Day is just under 2 months away, and President-elect Trump is looking to make good on his campaign promises of putting America first and bringing the country together.
I will govern by a simple motto: promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises. Nothing will stop me from keeping my word to you, the people. We will make America safe, strong, prosperous, powerful, and free again. And I'm asking every citizen all across our land to join me in this noble and righteous endeavor. That's what it is. It's time to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind us. It's time to unite. And we're going to try. We're going to try. We have to try. Success is going to bring us together, and we are going to start by all putting America first. We have to put our country first for at least a period of time. We have to fix it, because together we can truly make America great again for all Americans. So I want to just tell you what a great honor this is. I want to thank you. I will not let you down. America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than it has ever been before.
Well, Trump is already vowing to get to work on day one. He's looking to crack down on illegal immigration, kickstart American energy, and reestablish our global standing. And a new poll shows that a majority of Americans support Trump's vision for our country. Pew Research found that 53% of Americans approve of President Trump's plans and policies ahead of his second term. And Kennedy, that's why he was voted into office overwhelmingly by a majority of Americans who believe in his plans and his policies.
So what was really interesting to me was that the Democrats never acknowledged that he had already been president and that people had vastly different personal economic landscapes during his first term. I mean, think about that, because so often when you're running against someone, they've never been president. They're totally untested in that role. But he had been. He knew what the job entailed. That's such an incredibly rare thing. You know, we've had a lot of first-term presidents, one-term presidents, rather. But, you know, you didn't see Jimmy Carter go back at it in 1984. And for good reason, because, you know, he had his vision. It kind of failed. The country wasn't in a better place. And no one had an appetite for that the next time around. But the country has been on the wrong track. Three-quarters of the country have said that repeatedly, and, you know, Democrats couldn't see that. So, yeah, give him a chance. Give him a chance to give Americans what they voted for. And, you know, maybe they're not going to be Republicans forever, but we can all be Americans right now.
That's right. And, David, to Kennedy's point, so many interviews, exit and during the candidacy showed people of all racial makeups and religious backgrounds, geographical dwellings that said, my life was better under President Trump. Right. It was an incumbency that worked.
And again, picking up on Kennedy, we're all going to be picking up on Kennedy's point here because it's such a good one. He was in the belly of the beast. Yes. And not only was he in the belly of the beast in the first term, but then he had another term where he had to sit back and watch lawfare and all of the attacks on him, all of the stuff that came up that wasn't true, that Americans saw wasn't true, which is why a lot of Americans who didn't vote for him the first time did the second time. But what he wants to do, and I'm old enough to remember Ronald Reagan coming in 1980, he wanted to really shake up government. Government was the problem, not the solution. That was Reagan's great line. Trump knows that as well, personally now, very personally, because of what happened that first time. So bottom line is he's hired a cabinet of folks who are in the shaking up business. These are people who have reworked companies, who have tried, as some people that have been working with us at Fox to do, to really try to shake up the bureaucracies that they're now going to try to change. So in order to shake up the government and make it work, and you got Elon and Vivek on the top trying to figure out what can be cut and what can't, what is necessary and what is not, separating the wheat from the chaff, they're going to do that. I have a great hope that they will succeed.
Right, and in dismantling, especially, Cheryl, those odious regulations we've talked about. I have a family business, a small business, That's in the agricultural and the alcohol sectors. Nothing is more regulated than those. And the stymieing is so real. The amount of money that we have to hemorrhage in tithing to the government. But hopefully moving forward under this administration, it will be the dismantling of these regulations and the fostering of entrepreneurial and capitalist spirit.
And one of the agencies that is full of so much red tape and unnecessary regulation is the EPA. And if they can get in there and they can actually change the culture and not dismantle the EPA, but at least cut down the power of the EPA, that's going to help small businesses. That's going to help the real estate sector. That is going to help builders. I mean, there's so many onerous, ridiculous regulations on the books of the EPA. The other would be the EV mandate, because they want to undo that. Look, people are buying electric vehicles. By the way, you're the one outnumbered today. We've got all the business people here with Emily, so I think that's kind of fun. But to say that, but yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. I mean, if you go down there and you look at all of the bureaucracy, in particular with those EV mandates, people aren't buying those cars. Get rid of it. Those subsidies, the government's paying out those subsidies. It's such a waste of money. And this couch today on Thanksgiving is all about not wasting money. We're about saving money and about growing our economy and our
Don't
country.
waste
And I think
our
that's what's
money.
happening.
That's what I say. Don't waste my taxpayer dollars. And just to echo what Kennedy was saying, we're all Americans now. It's Thanksgiving. It's time to come together. How surprising is what happened? This poll that we just looked at? Hello, not at all. Trump won. Trump won big time. So what he's talking about is what he talked about on the campaign trail. And the only thing surprising about those numbers is that his polling on economics, on how he'll run the economy, is even higher than it was when he campaigned. So his polling is doing even better. So that's what's the interesting thing when you see progressives protesting what he wants. I don't understand it. You know you're going up against the American people.
Yeah, can I ask you, how soon do you think we're going to see results? How soon will Americans feel that relief that is sort of waiting in the wings?
I think it's already happening, because don't forget, CEOs come to work every day. They sit down at their big boy chair and they make decisions that affect how many Americans are employed, how much money their company is going to be spending. And they're making it on the basis of the policies that are coming in, that they know are coming in because they've seen Trump before.
But it's going to be a pitched battle. The bureaucrats are not going to let go easily. There are a lot of them that are going to be shown the door. They're not going to let go easily. They know what's coming.
But bureaucrats won't rule tax policy, right? That's something that Congress.
But I'm thinking of the Pentagon, HHS.
Don't forget the Supreme Court ruling about Chevron deference as well.
Yes.
Yeah, they have the law behind them, no doubt.
They did for a long time, and to
Now
Cheryl's
they
point,
do.
the EPA, they could make those regulations by fiat with no recourse and no accountability, and that has all changed. So it will be. We are in uncharted territory.
We had over a thousand new regulations under Biden and Harris that has cost us billions of dollars to our economy.
Probably true.
Talk to
Those
me
can
about
be changed.
if the fuel impact, if President Trump restores, if the fuel, wouldn't that change everything? Shipping and everything, our entire economy, would you say that's the single most effective, immediate change that he could make?
Keystone. That's one word, Keystone.
What I mean.
And the Pentagon.
Huge.
I'm looking for big changes at the Pentagon. That is such an ossified bureaucracy. It's got to change.
Tax policy. I'm all about the
A lot of
taxes.
stuff.